Quick update on Wolfpack for you guys. Before the end of the year, we asked you to have 2,000 members sign up so that Wolfpack can hire two people. One was Josh Aces, a great volunteer who now is a staffer for Wolfpack. And then we wanted to get to 2,000 so we could hire Brian the Mechanic LeMay. He has a super cool nickname like the Mechanic because he was literally a mechanic. But he is no longer. You have hired him. They did get to 2,000 members at Wolfpack. Brian LeMay was hired and is now one of the 4 full-time staffers at Wolfpack. Look, to give you a sense of how much we're outgunned on the money, but how much we actually have supported among the people, that's now 4 staffers that runs 35,000 volunteers. They work nonstop at very low wages. All because they love it, they care about it, they want to save the republic, they want to take money out of politics, they want to bring back democracy. So to everyone who became a member of Wolfpack, thank you. Wolf-pack.com to continue to do that. Members is what drives Wolfpack and allows them to hire people. Let's hire more. Let's get on the warpath. Right now, we are active in about a dozen states looking to pass resolutions. We've already passed in 5, including in Rhode Island, and that's where we got Brian and Josh from. So, look, I want to give you a fun little sense. We've done this in the past of how folks not only work hard, but have fun going to Wolfpack. And I've shown you videos before where they've explained it's the most satisfying thing in the world when it actually passes their state house. Become a volunteer also at wolf-pack.com because I guarantee you it'll be the most satisfying experience you ever have. Now, just a tiny bit of fun in Connecticut. We've shown you clips like this from Maryland, New York, Nebraska, etc. Here's the Connecticut guys getting all riled up. Wolfpack, 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 Wolfpack. I know we're hokey, but I love it. And by the way, there's a lot of paper tigers out there in Washington who claim to have a lot of members. Yet when we're out in the States, we don't see them. But we've got real volunteers, and they're really jazzed up. And when they hit the streets, they have a real impact. So thank you for letting us hire one more staffer, and let's keep it going. Whether you're a volunteer or you help by donating, go to wolf-pack.com, and let's get stronger together. Get the full 2-hour show ad-free. Become a member, tytnetwork.com/join. There was a women's march on Saturday that, by every measure, dwarfed the number of people who showed up to support Donald Trump on Inauguration Day. Some had it at about a 2-to-1 margin in terms of how many people showed up. And there was a lot of wonderful signs and speeches. I just wanted to share what I thought was the best sign. And that's all. I love it too much, and I wanted you to know it, partly because I'm agnostic, and partly because it's true. The sign says, let's put it up, I didn't come from your rib, you came from my vagina. Oh, by the way, it's not the sign showing Donald Trump naked. The other one is the one that I love so much. God, the whole idea that people believe that, oh yeah, women of course need to listen to men because they came from their rib. You might want to check your science on that one. Let's go take on the corporate media. Come join us, be a member, and change the media. tytnetwork.com/join.
G'day America, I'm the Yellowtail guy, about to enjoy some Yellowtail wine. Now I've got a big day coming up, the debut of my first big commercial. How big? You need to see it for yourself. But spoiler alert, stars a kangaroo. Hey, I've got an idea. A big commercial like that should air during your big American football game. I've got a another idea. If you see my face on your TV, social feed, wine aisle, just snap a pic and share it for your chance to win a trip to Australia.
So the first ever press briefing at the White House for the Trump team comes from Sean Spicer, and it was an unmitigated disaster. He basically came out and yelled at the press for 5.5 minutes on a number of issues, and the main thing he wanted to focus on was, of course, not policy, but crowd size. Trump is obsessed with size. He couldn't help but comment that his hands are not small, and if they were, it certainly was no indication of what's happening down there. He assured us, please believe him, that that's wonderful down there. So now he has Sean Spicer, his press secretary, go out there and assure everybody that his crowd size is terrific as well. So let's listen to Sean as he yells at the press.
Photographs of the inaugural proceedings were intentionally framed in a way, in one particular tweet, to minimize the enormous support that had gathered on the National Mall. This was the first time in our nation's history that floor coverings have been used to protect the grass in the mall. That had the effect of highlighting any areas where people were not standing, while in years past, the grass eliminated this visual. Inaccurate numbers involving crowd size were also tweeted. No one had numbers because the National Park Service, which controls the National Mall, does not put any out. All of this space was full when the president took the oath of office. We know that 420,000 people used the D.C. Metro public transit yesterday, which actually compares to 317,000 that used it for President Obama's last inaugural. This was the largest audience to ever witness an inauguration, period.
Really? Did you hear that last part? Let's play that one again.
This was the largest audience to ever witness an inauguration, period.
No, not remotely true. Let's show you pictures and let's show you real facts, not alternative facts. So here's a picture from 2009 for Barack Obama's inauguration. You see the Capitol all the way in the distance? That's where the speech is. And the crowd comes all the way back to this vantage point here. Okay, now let's show you Donald Trump's inauguration. Oops. Okay, look, the white canvas does make it look particularly empty. But there's a second reason why. Because it's particularly empty. Look at the signs on the grass. All that stuff was full before. There's nobody on the grass as the camera comes closer to us. And look at how far and deep this one goes in 2009. Now look at 2017. They gave him the benefit of the doubt by making this picture closer. And it still was nowhere near that same crowd size. And let's do a split screen real quick. Come on. Okay. So now that's just a picture. Picture sometimes says 1,000 words, and as Ben Mankiewicz points out from time to time, sometimes it lies. So let's go to the numbers. Well, Barack Obama's inauguration, according to PolitiFact, in 2013 was 1 million people. In 2009, it was 1.8 million people. That apparently was a record for the National Mall. But even George Bush in 2005, 400,000, 300,000 in 2001, Clinton 97. In 97 had 250,000, and 93 had 800,000, HW had 300,000. So now let's go to where Trump's is, and Dan Gross tweeted this out on day of. Crowd count is in, Trump 2017, 250,000. Oops. Obama, again, 1 million and 1.8 million in his two inaugurations. But all the presidents, way past Donald Trump, including George W. Bush, on an election that was also contested and where he had lost the popular vote, got more people to show up than Donald Trump did. Look, I think this issue is a little overinflated. It's not that big a deal. I think what matters a lot more is policy. But at the same time, it is interesting that they've decided that they're going to go full steam ahead on lying, and unabashedly so. Actually, sorry, I forgot to share one more clip from Sean Spicer's press conference. this. Let me show you that to you now.
They are not near Baghdad. Don't believe them. They are nowhere. This is silly.
Baghdad Sean? Okay, you know what? I'm going to show you one more video, video 10. Let's go to that, Jesus. Because I don't want everyone to get lost in this fight back and forth. Now, it's important because we've got to know if our president and his press secretary are going to continue to mislead us on a day-to-day basis. But what's more important is when they mislead us on policy issues. So what no one's talking about is the very end of the press conference when Sean Spicer also said this.
I'd also note that it's a shame that the CIA didn't have a CIA director to be with him today when he visited, because the Democrats have chosen, Senate Democrats are stalling the nomination of Mike Pompeo and playing politics with national security. That's what you guys should be writing and covering. That this, instead of sowing division about tweets and false narratives.
Well, first of all, you guys are the ones that put out the tweets. Trump immediately tweeted about his size of his crowd. So, second of all, we're not the ones doing division. You're the one yelling at us. But third of all, this policy matter on the CIA is also inaccurate and far more important. So the reality is that Donald Trump, as we explained to you last week, put forward his nominees much later in the process than other Democrats and Republicans had. So whether it was Obama or George W. Bush, they would, after they won the election, they would put up their nominees and they would have plenty of time for hearings. Well, Trump didn't do that. He put them in rather late in the process, and that's a fact, and you could look into it. And we already shared all those facts with you on the exact timing in a video we did last week. And then, on top of that, most of his nominees did not go through the ethics office. They just simply refused to do disclosures to the ethics office, which, by the way, should mean that they should be blocked. Not that their nomination should be delayed. It should be blocked. If you're not going to follow the law and agree to the ethics rules and laws of this country, then you shouldn't get to be a nominee. So now, a lot of his nominees did that. In the case of Pompeo, they put him up later in the process, as I said, and it's even more egregious for some of the other nominees. So then they turn around and go, oh, look at this, the Democrats are blocking it. They're holding it up. No, you did this on purpose so that you can come out and say, oh, there's a panic. The CIA director is not in place. You created the panic. So the press actually did a wonderful job of calling them out on this crowd size issue and actually held them to account. But I also need you to hold them to account on more important things related to policy. So let's all do that going forward. If you want to see this happen, donate $3, $20, $27, whatever you can afford. You know that if everybody that's watching this video donated right now, we can stop the fundraising because we'd have enough. So go to tytnetwork.com/go. We'll wait while you make the donation. Thank you for doing it and for building a great new journalism team. And thanks for watching.
You said you wanted to feel better about your cereal. General Mills Big G cereals hear you. That's why we say yes to whole grain as our first ingredient, and no way to high fructose corn syrup. So no matter what your favorite is, you can feel good about General Mills Big G cereals.
Now, WikiLeaks did have a lot of material on Hillary Clinton during the elections, and they released those DNC emails, the John Podesta emails, and so some thought that they were on Donald Trump's side. And interesting to note that today is Kellyanne Conway, who's on TV saying they won't release those tax returns ever, that everybody was asking for. WikiLeaks put out a tweet saying, Trump counselor Kellyanne Conway stated today that Trump will not release his tax returns. Send them to WikiLeaks so we can. And so now, a lot of Hillary Clinton supporters will say, oh, too little, too late, and I don't believe them, etc. And they thought the Clinton thing was much worse. I don't know, did they? Well, here's another tweet from WikiLeaks. Trump's breach of promise over the release of his tax returns is even more gratuitous than Clinton concealing her Goldman Sachs transcripts. See, it is possible to be outraged at the same time that Hillary Clinton is giving private speeches to bankers telling them how great they are and how she would put them in charge and get their advice if she was to win. and at the same time be outraged that Donald Trump is not sharing his tax returns and not giving any transparency to the American people. You should be outraged at both, and WikiLeaks was. In fact, they said they were even more outraged in that case about what Trump did. Now, I know what a lot of the Clinton supporters are thinking. Yeah, but after the election. Wrong again, Bob. Here's a statement from WikiLeaks before the election, in September, in the heart of the election. Clinton fighting strongly on Trump's secret tax returns. If you have them, they could be submitted here, wikileaks.org/#submit. So even in the middle of the debates between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, WikiLeaks was asking for Donald Trump's tax returns and was saying that they would release them. And usually when WikiLeaks says they would release something, they follow through and release it, no matter who gets pissed. So if you're going to get mad at WikiLeaks, at least have your facts straight and know what they're going after and what their point of view is. And in case you're unclear, by the way, their point of view is we get documents, we vet them, and then we release them because transparency is good for democracy. You know who created journalism you could be proud of? You did. Our audience helped us hire an investigative reporting team. Now we're going to go for a second. tytnetwork.com/go. Let's build the best reporting team in the country together. So Kellyanne Conway was all over TV on Sunday, and she came up with a doozy called Alternative Facts. Those are apparently facts that are not true. But that was not the only thing that she talked about. She also talked about Donald Trump's tax returns. Now, I remember Donald Trump had said all along, no, I'm being audited. And so that's why I can't release my tax returns. But the minute the audit is over, I will, of course, release them. And he claimed he was going to release them before the election for a while, and then he stopped claiming that, and he was like, no, we're not. Then he claimed that he was going to release them after the election. Well, now Kellyanne Conway goes out there and goes, nah, we're just kidding. Watch.
You also have more than 200,000 who petitioned the White House calling on President Trump to release his full tax returns with all information needed to verify Emoluments Clause compliance. Whenever 100,000 petition, that triggers a White House response. So what is the White House response?
The White House response is that he's not going to release his tax returns. We litigated this all through the election. People didn't care. They voted for him. And let me make this very clear. Most Americans are very focused on what their tax returns will look like while President Trump is in office, not what his look like.
That problem is gone into the evening. No, we won't release the tax returns. And our answer to you is, well, if you were stupid enough to vote for us and believe that we would, like we told you, well, that's your problem, not my problem. We already litigated that. You voted for us anyway. So if you were that kind of a sucker, Now, you might be thinking, well, that you're saying that to Hillary voters. You're not saying that to Trump voters, because I'm sure the Trump voters in the country overall don't care since he won, right? Wrong again, Bob. Let's take a look at ABC News Washington Post poll on this. Should Trump release his tax returns? 74% said yes. Only 18% said no. In fact, even 49% of Trump supporters said that he should release his tax returns. So, the reason for that is, yeah, they elected him because they didn't like Hillary Clinton. They were against corruption, and he said he was going to drain the swamp. And he said he was going to bring jobs back. They didn't then give him carte blanche to be just as corrupt and not have any transparency. No, they actually elected you because they believed that you were going to serve them. Now, I think that they were completely mistaken in that belief, but they believed. But part of serving them is being honest, upfront, and transparent. So one of his first acts is to say, I'm not going to do any of that, and I don't care if 3/4 of the country wants to see my tax return so they can make sure that I don't have a conflict of interest, that I'm not just enriching myself in this role, and make sure that I'm actually serving you guys and not myself. No, you're never going to find that out, and I'm not going to give you that information. So he thinks he's above the law, and that he won't get hurt by any of these actions, but I think he's sorely mistaken. And I think this is one of those things where the American people look at it and go, oh, I get it. He's hiding something. So, Kellyanne Conway's right. It didn't affect him in this election because he won by the skin of his teeth. And he snuck in there, even though he lost the popular vote by 3 million votes, but he did win the electoral college, and he's in there now. Whether it affects him in the next election, and whether it affects Republicans in 2018 is a completely different matter. That is yet to come. Become a TYT member and get all of our shows, including the ones only members see, Old School, Aggressive Progressive, our post games, TYT Classics, and you even get the interviews before anyone else does. TYTnetwork.com/join.
This year, Chevy's received more J.D. Power Initial Quality Awards than any other car brand. And the year before that. And the year before that. Chevy's received more J.D. Power Initial Quality Awards than any other car brand 4 years in a row.
So there are several people who are aggrieved at how Trump opponents are acting recently since Trump took office. One of them is Frank Luntz. He's a legendary Republican pollster, and whether you like him or not, he has a ton of experience. And by the way, one of the polls that he put out recently was about how the country was basically terrifyingly liberal. Or the young were, millennials were, which I did not find terrifying at all. I found wonderful. But my point in telling you that story is he does do real polling that are based in facts, not alternative facts. And so you can question his framing it from time to time that I have. But he's a legitimate pollster, okay, even if you might disagree with him politically. But apparently some people took that disagreement a little bit more physically. He was in D.C. for the Trump inauguration, and he claims this is what happened next. He said, a woman walked up to me in the Marriott Marquis, and she shouted, "You fascist," and then 2 other words that would get me fired from your network. And she threw this red confetti glitter right in my eyes, and she picked up another handful, and she was no further than 6 inches away, and I was covered with this stuff. And then he put out one more statement. He said, "Since when do you have the right or ability to attack someone in a private setting? I never thought this would be America. I never thought this would happen in this country." And he went on to talk about on Twitter about how some of the red paint got in his eyes, and that in his estimation, the Marriott didn't do enough to protect its guests. So I have to be honest with you. I don't like any physical stuff, including throwing glitter, confetti, pies, shoes. Totally against it. And I know a lot of people think, oh, what's the big deal? That's not really physical. That's not really an assault. We're just having fun. It's not fun because he doesn't look like he's having fun. Now, you want to yell things at him? Have at it, Hoss. You want to make your voice heard? Hey, no one's going to back you more than me. Don't do anything physical. It does 2 things. One, it puts you as the bad guy. We're supposed to be for nonviolence. The left should never do anything physical. Secondly, it allows them to claim victimhood. Oh my God, the glitter gun in my eye. And then Americans in the middle start to have sympathy for him. And in that case, they should. Don't assault anybody, even if it's with glitter. Okay. Now, there was a more serious assault as well over the weekend, and that was to Richard Spencer. Now, Richard Spencer is a terrible guy. He is one of the leaders of the alt-right. He's a white supremacist. And, some video was going around. I think we showed it as well. At the end of one of his speeches, they do the Nazi salute. So I got no love for Richard Spencer at all. I can't stand him. Nonetheless, this should not have happened. Watch.
Neo-Nazis love you, but you're not a neo-Nazi.
Neo-Nazis don't love me. They kind of hate me, actually.
KKK, neo-Nazi.
NATO's people don't like me,
Are you like the hipster version of the neo-Nazi movement?
It's, Pepe's become kind of a symbol.
Not buying it. Don't do that, man. Problem number 3 with that tactic, other than the fact that it's wrong, and I view it it's illegal, and I view it to be an immoral tactic, is that violence begets violence. That's why progressives are against violence. Okay, you're punching today, they punch tomorrow. And right now, they have the United States government behind them. So, terrible, terrible idea. But bottom line here, look, I know people are going to want to yell World Star and all that stuff, right? And I get that you think it's funny, but it's not funny. Now, I'm going to show you the relevant portion of the video one more time. But before I show it to you, Imagine if the roles were reversed. If Sean Spencer or an alt-right guy had gone and done this to a liberal commentator you like. I mean, I don't want to name names. Just picture, let's say, anyone on TV that you like that's on your side, and some white supremacist came and did this to him.
It's Pepe's become kind of a symbol.
Always think about what if the shoe was on the other foot. If an alt-right piece of crap had done that to anyone I cared about, or anyone in the middle, or anyone period, I would be furious. It's a terrible idea. Violence is never the right answer, especially in political discourse. When you don't use your words and you use your fists, you're giving up the argument. You're saying, I can't win the argument on its merits. And believe me, we can easily win an argument against Richard Spencer on the merits. So let's stick to that. We already hired one investigative reporting team thanks to you guys. Let's hire the second right now. Go to tytnetwork.com/go. So Donald Trump has done a number of things on his first day, and the first and biggest one, I would argue, is actually very good news. Whoa! Didn't see that coming. So, he has sunk the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Now, I'll tell you why that's good news in a second, but first let me give you an update on exactly what happened here. Go to the New York Times. President Trump formally abandoned the Trans-Pacific Partnership on Monday, pulling away from Asia and scrapping his predecessor's most significant trade deal on his first full weekday in office, administration officials said. Now, I know that Donald Trump likes to attack the New York Times, but I'm sure he would agree that is true. They explain, although candidates have often criticized trade deals on the campaign trail, those who made it to the White House, including President Barack Obama, ended up extending their reach. I wanted to give you that context, as the New York Times did, because it's absolutely true. So often candidates will be like, oh, the trade deals hurt us, and I'm going to reconsider. If you remember, Obama got in a little bit of trouble because during his campaign, he actually reached out to Canada and said, hey, I'm kidding. We're not going to renegotiate NAFTA or anything like that. Don't worry, I'm actually on your side and on the side of multinational corporations. This is part of why the Democrats lost to Trump. Not just on the policy of TPP, which the country is definitely against, but on the idea that candidates claim to be on one side and then wind up being on the other. For example, does anyone really believe that Hillary Clinton was going to get rid of Trans-Pacific Partnership on her first day like Trump is? Keep it real. If you believe that, you were sorely mistaken. And most people did not believe it. Part of the reason why they voted for him, because they didn't trust her on policy issues. So there's a million things you shouldn't trust Trump on, and I've gone over them over and over again. But on that, I think that the American people were largely right in not trusting Hillary Clinton. I would have been very surprised if she actually got rid of TPP, and certainly wouldn't have done it on the first day. So it doesn't matter which day she did it on if she actually did it. But I didn't believe her. I didn't, and Obama wasn't telling the truth when he said he was against those trade deals. And if history's any judge, neither was Hillary Clinton. So here, Trump actually does deliver credit where credit is due. Now, in fact, he's going against most of his own party. New York Times explains that as well. In discarding the Trans-Pacific Partnership, or TPP, Mr. Trump tacked away from his Republican allies in Congress who have long supported such trading agreements. In fact, Paul Ryan, the Speaker of the House for the Republicans, was working with Barack Obama to fast-track that agreement so that Congress couldn't even debate it after the Obama administration negotiated it. Even though they fought Obama on everything else, when it came to supporting their donors that were multinational corporations, Paul Ryan and Obama, the establishment Democrats, and the establishment Republicans completely agreed. So, thank God that they did not win in that regard, at least. There's many other, of course, problems with the Trump administration, but this isn't one of them. They got 99 problems, but TPP ain't one. So, John McCain is one of those establishment Republicans, and he is aggrieved. He says, this is a serious mistake that will have lasting consequences on my donors. I mean, for America's economy and our strategic position with multinational corporations, I mean, in the Asia-Pacific region. Okay, so that's what John McCain said. Let me explain what the pact was in case you didn't know and what the issues were and what I think was the most important part and why I'm happy with this development. So Again, the Times says, aides signaled that Mr. Trump may also move quickly on renegotiating NAFTA, North American Free Trade Agreement. He is scheduling meetings with the leaders of Canada and Mexico, the two main partners in that pact. Okay, so he's even going further than TPP. Now, back to TPP. The agreement brought together the United States and 11 other nations along with the Pacific Rim, including Canada, Mexico, Japan, Vietnam, Malaysia, and Australia, creating a free trade zone for about 40% of the world's economy. That's gigantic. It was intended to lower tariffs while setting rules for resolving trade disputes, setting patents, and protecting intellectual property. So, I'm not against free trade, and different progressives have different points of view here, and I'm not against lowering tariffs. But what I am against is the ending of that explanation. Rules for dissolving trade disputes. You know what that means? That means that corporations can take you and I to court, not to a U.S. court, but to an international court, and they could sue us for blocking their profits. Now, why would we block their profits? Well, for example, if we said, hey, don't pollute in the river that goes by my house that my kids sometimes play in. You block my profits. I was going to make more money by polluting in that river. I'm taking you to court. That court could have a ruling that actually trumps our sovereignty. That's insane. No real conservative or real progressive should agree with that. So, I'm not against free trade. I'm against free trade where you totally rig the rules so that corporations are above nation states. To that I say hell no, and the American voters both on the left and the right said hell no, let alone all the different laws and rules and regulations they put in there to protect intellectual property. Do you have to protect intellectual property? Yes. Do you have to do it by creating monopolies? No. So the drug companies, among others, would insist on charging enormous rates throughout the world and having the market all to themselves. They insisted on protecting monopolies for years on end. So to that we say no. To that Donald Trump said no. So it is an action he takes on the first day that is very positive. There is one more voice of agreement on this. It's Bernie Sanders. He simply said, I'm glad the Trans-Pacific Partnership is dead and gone. Hear, hear, brother. So this is something the entire American people agreed upon. We all agreed that we would like to rule ourselves and not give away our own freedom and liberty to multinational corporations. So Trump, on this one, tip of the hat. On the rest of them, oh boy. You're at the end of this video, so the Young Turks is over. Wrong! The Young Turks is just beginning. Membership gives you the full 2-hour show, plus all of our member shows, old school, aggressive, progressive, TYT postgame every single day. Join and come and see how great membership is. tytnetwork.com/join. So Donald Trump goes to the CIA. Why? Because he had yelled at them throughout the campaign and said he didn't believe them, made outrageous allegations about the CIA, one of which I'm going to share with you in a second. But when he went there, he said he was really well received. There was a lot of applause. In fact, some of the videos we're going to play for you here, you might hear some of the applause in the background. First, let Donald Trump tell you how good he feels about the CIA.
I want to say that there is nobody that feels stronger about the intelligence community and the CIA than Donald Trump. There's nobody.
Oh, yeah, that's it, man. Nobody respects the CIA more than Donald Trump does. That's why I was kind of curious why just this month he tweeted, intelligence agencies should never have allowed this fake news to leak into the public, referring to how the Russians wanted him to win and hack the DNC to help him. One last shot at me. Are we living in Nazi Germany? So those same intelligence officials that he just said, I love and respect you more than anybody, he originally, this month, not like a year ago, not like 10 years ago, earlier this month, had called or alluded to them as similar to Nazi Germany. Okay. Now, there was applause. I'll get to that applause in a second. But my favorite clip, Donald Trump also said this to the CIA.
In fact, every time I say I had an uncle who was a great professor at MIT for 35 years, who did a fantastic job in so many different ways academically. He was an academic genius. And then they say, is Donald Trump an intellectual? Trust me, I'm like a smart person. And
they laugh. That's so embarrassing. Trust me, I'm like a smart person. I remember all the times that smart people say that. Like Bill Gates is always going around telling me, people, trust me, I'm like a smart person. Okay. Albert Einstein wouldn't shut up about how he's like a smart person. By the way, I already have this.
You know, I'm like a smart person.
Wait, did we put it in the soundboard immediately? No. That's the second time he said it. I'm like a smart person. Okay. Oh, God, for those of you who are proud to be his supporters, I feel so bad for you. Anyway, well, Trump and all of his lackeys say that speech was incredibly well received. I mean, you heard some of the applause in that tape for yourself, right? Government official who was at the speech told CBS News, in reality, the CIA officials there were, quote, uncomfortable. And, quote, it made relations with the intelligence community worse. So, wait a minute. But the applause is real. There's no question. We didn't put that into the tape, and it exists. So, what's going on here? Well, this is not just CBS News. I've now seen this in 2 to 3 different sources, but I'll quote CBS here. Authorities are also pushing back against the perception that the CIA workforce was cheering for the president. They say the first 3 rows in front of the president were largely made up of supporters of Mr. Trump's campaign. What a goofball. He brought in 40 people to applaud for him. By the way, he did this at his first press conference. The one after the election when everybody said, you got to do a press conference, and he finally does one, and he had his staffers come in to cheer for him whenever he answered and to jeer the media. Remember, on his first press conference ever, when he was announcing his candidacy for president all the way back in 2015, they found out that he had paid actors $50 a pop to come and applaud for him. This is an old Donald Trump trick. He has said in the past, look, my job is to put on a good show. So apparently he put on a nice show at the CIA. Now, be fair to Donald Trump, reporters that were at the scene said, okay, there was that group of 40 that Trump, Pence, and Pompeo, his CIA director nominee, brought in. So a lot of those guys applauding and cheering were those guys. But some of the rank and file of the CIA guys, there's 400 people in the room, also supported Donald Trump. Okay, the CIA leaders in the front apparently were subdued throughout the speech and apparently thought that his speech was self-aggrandizing, it was tangential, didn't respect the CIA, and instead talked about crowd size and his other political issues, and they found it to be insulting and counterproductive. But also, hey, he's insulted those same CIA leaders for a long time, so the result, in my opinion, based on having looked at all the reporting, is mixed. Some of the CIA are Donald Trump fans. Some of the people who he brought in are not CIA and applauded him. But obviously some of the leaders not buying what he's selling. Now, how that winds up affecting his governance is a good question. I hope it doesn't hurt, because the whole point of the intelligence agencies is they're supposed to do intelligence on behalf of the American people. And so I hope they're on that watch, and I hope that President Trump listens to them. So I hope their relationship going forward is great. Because right now, he's only taking the intelligence briefing once a week, which is unprecedented. All the other presidents took them every day. And when asked about it, that's where the original I'm like a smart person clip comes from. Chris Wallace had asked him about it in an interview on Fox News. He said, I don't need to hear the same things over and over again. If they got a problem, they'll call me in a minute. No, the briefing is so that you prepare ahead of time. Not that they call you in a panic and tell you something's gone wrong. You get the briefing to make sure that something doesn't go wrong. And he said, don't worry, Chris, I don't need any of that. Because,
I'm like a smart person.
Animals are innocent.
TRTnetwork.com/join. On the first day in office, the first full weekday, when he said this first time he's actually working for a whole day, not in his life, although one could argue, in his presidency, he did one thing. that was really good. That was getting rid of the Trans-Pacific Partnership. The other things he did, not so good. So let me tell you about that. United States law, as New York Times explains, already prohibits the use of American taxpayer dollars for abortion services anywhere, including countries where the procedure is legal. But Donald Trump signed an order that takes it further. It freezes the United States funding to healthcare providers in poor countries if they include abortion counseling or if they advocate the right to seek abortion in their countries. So this is called a gag law. And so what it does is it tells foreign workers, if you're trying to help people by giving them counseling in a thorough way, but you mention abortion, that's it, your funding's gone. Now, Reagan is the first one to have done this, called the Mexico City rule, because he introduced it in Mexico City. And to be fair to Trump, he's not the only Republican who's done this. Reagan did it. And every time a Democrat comes in, they repeal this rule. And every time a Republican comes in, like George Bush or Donald Trump, they put the law back into place. So he's doing what the other Republicans have done, but it doesn't make it any better. By the way, during Reagan's administration, when they had this law in effect, abortions did not go down. In those affected countries, they went up. Because once you start to block contraception and general help and advice on health, things don't get better, they get worse, including more abortions. It's counterproductive, but they like to make themselves feel better by saying, yeah, we got them to shut up, that's right, okay? Abortions went up, we're pro-life, okay. So, it's not the only outrageous or policies that we disagree with. You might find them outrageous or not, but I certainly disagree with them. That's not the only one he did today. Trump ordered a hiring freeze in the federal workforce, of course exempting the military, which is the largest part of the budget. So, except for the giant government program called the military, which is an enormous part of our budget, on everything else like science and helping people and helping workers, and safety, no, we're going to stop hiring there. But on buying submarines and jets, etc., to bomb people, full steam ahead. And NBC News says Trump noted that his long-promised action to shrink the federal government would not apply to the American military. So, for the largest part of the American government, you're free to continue to be incredibly bloated and waste a tremendous amount of money on interventionist wars, which I pretend to be against in the campaign. Oh, okay, got it. Furthermore, earlier on Monday, Trump suggested that companies that move outside of the United States should expect to face a substantial border tax. Fascinating. In fact, a little bit more on those economic promises, also on his first day of work, here from Donald Trump. Let's hear.
What we're doing is we are going to be cutting taxes massively for both the middle class and for companies, and that's massive. We're trying to get it down to anywhere from 15 to 20%, and it's now 35%, but it's probably more 38% than it is 35. Would you say?
Okay, if he brought taxes all the way down to 15 or 20%, it would be a disaster of epic proportions, and he might just do it because he is not just a standard politician; he's worse than a standard politician in terms of the gifts that he promises people with no accountability and no responsibility. You know how little revenue would come into the American government if we lowered taxes to 15 to 20%? The deficit would balloon more than anything you've ever seen. George W. Bush exploded the deficit, and that would still be chump change or Trump change compared to what Donald Trump's tax proposals are. Hopefully somebody reins him in on that, because those proposals, in my opinion, are insane. And you'll see them. If you're a conservative who claims that you got to balance the budget, well, this will pulverize the budget. I guarantee it. Okay, now, he's not done yet. He's also going to pulverize regulations.
A bigger thing, and that surprised me, is the fact that we're going to be cutting regulation massively. Now, we're going to have regulation, and it'll be just as strong and just as good and just as protective of the people as the regulation we have right now. The problem with the regulation that we have right now is that you can't do anything. I'm a very big person when it comes to the environment. I've received awards on the environment, but some of that stuff makes it impossible to get anything built. When somebody wants to put up a factory, it's going to be expedited. And you have to go through the process, but it's going to be expedited. And we're going to take care of the environment. We're going to take care of safety and all of the other things we have to take care of. But you're going to get such great service. We think we can cut regulations by 75%, maybe more, but by 75%. Have, in a certain way, better protections. But when you want to expand your plant, or when Mark wants to come in and build a big, massive plant, or when Dell wants to come in and do something monstrous and special, you're going to have your approvals really fast.
Cutting regulations by 75%. Okay, what are regulations? Are they just things meant to annoy you? No, if that's the case, and there are plenty of regulations that do that, I would be opposed to them as well. But some regulations are for coal mines. It says, hey, here are the bare minimum things you have to do to make sure that people don't die inside those coal mines. Or if you're running a plant or a factory. Remember one exploded in Texas a couple of years back? I mean, the stories happen nonstop. There was another one in Corpus Christi, Texas. There was an asphalt company. Oops! The asphalt got into the drinking water and poisoned everybody. Oops. That's why we have regulations, so that you don't do that. So if you say, all right, your factories, your plants, they're going to get approved right away. Well, they might get approved with no safety regulations, right? Or to make sure that they don't accidentally pollute into our rivers, into our waters, into our air. That's what you need the regulations for. There's a reason that they exist. And what a child. He speaks this. I'm a big person when it comes to the environment. What does that mean? Okay, and I've gotten many awards on environmental issues. Okay, and don't worry, the regulations, they're going to be cut 75%, but they're going to be just as good. What does that mean? Like, you really think that that's going to work? And you don't believe in any regulations? Well, you're a knucklehead, and you don't know what those regulations do. And one day when it affects your life, you're going to be like, wait, why come nobody protected me? Because you just voted for the guy who said, I'm not going to protect you. I'm just going to let the businesses do whatever they want. Giant corporations, your lucky day, Donald Trump's in office, at least until he ruins the dollar and the global economy. Until then, have at it, Hoss. He's going to let you get away with anything you want. We already hired one investigative reporting team thanks to you guys. Let's hire the second right now. Go to tytnetwork.com/go.
I'm an ex-spy. I don't pretend to be anything more than that. When did we start arresting people for crimes they might commit?
I don't think you understand how vulnerable you are.
I don't think you do.
Homeland. New episodes. Sundays at 9 only on Showtime. Start your free trial now.
So we have a different situation of the press than I've ever seen. The press has actually decided that they are going to fact-check politicians. Now, they didn't do it really too much under Obama. They certainly didn't do it under Bush. And they were far, far too respectful of power and the office of the presidency and the honorable gentlemen and gentlewomen in Congress. And we had asked them to hold both Bush and Obama far more accountable. Well, at least for whatever reason, partly because the establishment not too happy with Donald Trump, they have decided that they are going to hold Donald Trump accountable. But hey, I will take it. I wish that it came much, much earlier. But now I want to show you the tenor of this coverage, because it is different than what we have seen in the past. New York Times, with this scathing and correct headline, saying, with false claims, Trump attacks media on turnout and intelligence theft. So that is a hell of a headline, saying that he is not accurate right in the headline. I love it, because the headline is the most important thing. And for so long, the New York Times and others let the Bush administration get away with saying, Bush claims America is safe. Bush claims that we're making progress in Iraq. Bush claims that Saddam Hussein has weapons of mass destruction. Well, is it true or is it not true? And by the way, on Obama claims to have transparency in his government. Well, he went after reporters more aggressively than any other president. Okay, now let's get to the heart of the article, and there, more truth-telling. They say President Trump used his first full day in office on Saturday to unleash a remarkably bitter attack on the news media falsely accusing journalists of both inventing a rift between him and intelligence agencies and deliberately understating the size of his inauguration crowd. They say it right there. It's not true, and they are going to back it up with numbers in a second. They go on to say, in a visit to the Central Intelligence Agency intended to showcase the support for the intelligence community, Mr. Trump ignored his own repeated public statements criticizing the intelligence community, a group he compared to Nazis just over a week ago. So in the bad old days of neutral journalism, they would have just said whatever Trump said and then not actually fact-checked him that he had said the opposite just a couple of weeks ago. So this is a great improvement. Now, they quote Donald Trump as saying, "I have a running war with the media. They are among the most dishonest human beings on earth," and they sort of made it sound like I had a feud with the intelligence community. This is, of course, in a speech to the CIA. He went on to say, "I love you, I respect you, there's nobody I respect more." And, of course, there's this tweet from earlier this month from Donald Trump. "Intelligence agencies should never have allowed this fake news to leak into the public," referring to how the Russians helped them. One last shot at me. Are we living in Nazi Germany? Yeah, I know. The people that I respect and love, I usually call Nazis too. Or maybe not. Okay. New York Times continues to fact check him. They say on his crowd size, he said that up to 1.5 million people had attended his inauguration, a claim that photographs disproved. I'm telling you, man, I've been covering politics for over 20 years. For every other president, they would have said, this is what their claim is, and they would have moved on. And it was infuriating. Now, I'm annoyed that they didn't do it for earlier presidents, but I'll take it. At least fact check going forward. And if it's a establishment politician you like that isn't Trump, that's in the Congress, please fact check them as well. This shouldn't be an anomaly just for Trump. It should apply to all politicians. Okay, now they go on to Sean Spicer, who is his press secretary, who also lied in his first press conference. They explained Mr. Spicer scolded reporters and made a series of false statements. So that is very, very clear, things that they would not have said in the past. Mr. Spicer said that Mr. Trump had drawn the largest audience to ever witness an inauguration, a statement that photographs clearly show to be false. They continue, he incorrectly claimed that ridership on Washington's subway system was higher than on Inauguration Day in 2013. In reality, there were 782,000 riders that year, compared with 571,000 riders this year, according to figures from the Washington Area Transit Authority. So real facts disprove their falsehoods. They go on to say, Mr. Spicer also said the security measures had been extended farther down the National Mall this year, preventing hundreds of thousands of people from viewing the ceremony, but the Secret Service said the measures were largely unchanged this year, and there were few reports of long lines or delays. And finally, one more from the New York Times here. A Metro official said that more than 1 million rail trips were taken Saturday, that's the Women's March against Trump, the second highest day in its history after Barack Obama's first inauguration in 2009. More than 570,000 rail trips were taken on Friday. So when they claim that the Women's March was smaller than inauguration, that is not true. The Women's March was significantly larger than the crowd at inauguration. By the way, we had our reporters, and I already talked to Mika Cones, who covered the Women's March and inauguration for us in Washington. She also, as an eyewitness, said, not remotely close. The streets were easy to get around in. The subway was easy to take. There were not many people in the crowd during inauguration. Of course, a lot more than average. It's an inauguration. And at least 250,000 people were there overall. But on the Women's March, the streets were jammed, or the subways were jammed, and the crowds were significantly larger than on Inauguration Day. We saw it with our own eyes. So, now, us challenging people in power, not unusual. But the guys on TV, the guys at the establishment press, that is a little unusual. Let me go to the guys on TV. Here's Jonathan Carr from ABC News, continuing to challenge Sean Spicer.
Is it your intention to always tell the truth from that podium, and will you pledge never to knowingly say something that is not factual?
It is. It's an honor to do this, and yes, I believe that we have to be honest with the American people. I think sometimes we can disagree with the facts, and if you're in the same boat. I mean, there are times when you guys tweet something out or write a story, and you publish a correction. That doesn't mean that you were intentionally trying to deceive readers and the American people, does it? And I think we should be afforded the same opportunity. It is a two-way street. There are many mistakes that the media makes all the time. They misreport something, they don't report something, they get a fact wrong. I don't think that's always to turn around and say, okay, you are intentionally lying.
So a little bit of a backtrack there from the Trump administration on the crowd size. That's good. I'll definitely take it. And part of the reason they're backtracking is because the media actually did its job of fact-checking them and did it so aggressively. And Jonathan Karl there asking the press secretary for the White House, are you always going to tell the truth? Because apparently they're not sure. I would be very surprised if we could find tape of people asking that of the White House press secretary in other administrations. I know those guys claim that they're watchdogs, but I watched them for all those years. They would tiptoe around those other guys. Sometimes they would yell out a question, but to accuse them of lying on day two is unusual. Now, of course, the scope of the lies of the Trump administration are also unusual. Now, Kellyanne Conway had gone on Chuck Todd's program, Meet the Press, and said that, well, we have alternative facts. Chuck Todd said there are no such thing as alternative facts. There are only facts. Alternative facts are otherwise known as falsehoods. So that is super aggressive. And then he got a little chippy on here. I wanted to show you that to you as well.
I don't think you can prove those numbers one way or the other. There's no way to really quantify crowds. We all know that. You can laugh at me all you want, but I'm very glad.
I'm just
Chuck,
befuddled.
well, but you are, and I think it's actually symbolic of the way we're treated by the press. The way that you just laughed at me is actually symbolic of the way, very representative of the way we're treated by the press. I'll just ignore it. I'm bigger than that. I'm a kind and gracious person.
No, he did kind of laugh at her. But when you start talking about alternative facts, it is worth chuckling at. So, but again, Chuck Todd would never have laughed at Obama spokespeople or Bush's. And not wouldn't have, didn't. I saw it with my own eyes. We tracked it here on the Young Turks all throughout. But hey, again, for the 18th time, if the press is going to be more aggressive and hold people in power to account, great. Let's be consistent. Let's do it for everybody. Finally, I go to NPR because it's a funny ending. They also held Trump accountable here, all the way down to the weather. They said they went through the same things that New York Times and others did. And then they added, Trump also claimed that the rain should have scared people away, but God looked down, he said, we're not going to let it rain on your speech. And that, though, he got hit by a couple of drops when he started his speech, that the rain stopped immediately. And then it became really sunny. They're quoting Trump there. In fact, neither of those claims is true, and it was raining during Trump's speech and remained overcast and cloudy. I like that they even fact-checked him on that. One more from NPR to finish. Trump also touted his electoral win, saying that he had tremendous support from the military and said he would guarantee a big portion of people at his CIA speech voted for. In fact, the military and the intelligence community are two separate entities. Keep it going, brothers and sisters. Keep it going. Fact-check everyone in power. Godspeed. The corporate media has multi-million-dollar anchors. We have you guys. Go to tytnetwork.com/go, and you can help hire investigative reporters that'll do real journalism. Now, the Democratic Party used to represent something wonderful, voters. And they were actually progressives, and they got a lot of things done. That is not a myth. There's this idea that, well, Democrats are weak and they were always ineffectual. Not remotely true. FDR was a Democrat. He gave us Social Security. Later, we wound up getting Medicare, Medicaid, and all these wonderful things, all brought to you by strong progressives, including Lyndon Johnson, at least on the social front, including the Civil Rights Act, the Voting Rights Act, all brought to you by strong progressives. And it wasn't just presidents or politicians. There were great activists like Martin Luther King, who was a very strong progressive and also got us the Civil Rights and Voting Rights Act, but not just on social issues, but also on economic issues. There was Ralph Nader. Remember, Ralph Nader saved millions of lives by getting seatbelts in the cars, and he had to fight giant multinational corporations to do that, but he won. Isn't that amazing? Back when you could actually beat multinational corporations. But to give you a sense of how strong the Democratic Party and progressives used to be in this country, back during Nixon's administration, Nixon was so intimidated by progressives like Ralph Nader that he's the one who started the Environmental Protection Agency and OSHA to protect workers in America. Progressives were so strong. We got Nixon to start the EPA and OSHA. So don't tell me it isn't possible for there to be strong Democrats. I know there are. But what wound up happening in the Democratic Party? Well, there was a hostile takeover. So multinational corporations decided, hey, you know what? We need the Supreme Court on our side. And they had a guy named Lewis Powell write a memo about how they could take over the Supreme Court. And lo and behold, Richard Nixon, in his revenge, put Lewis Powell on the Supreme Court. And what did Powell do? He was the deciding vote in 2 Supreme Court cases that allowed for corporations to put money into politics. And lo and behold, corporations took over the Republican Party, of course, immediately. They were ready for that takeover. That takeover was not hostile. And then they took over the Democratic Party. And I asked Ralph Nader, I said, you're running roughshod. You're getting Nixon to do whatever you want. What happened? He said, we ran into a brick wall. Once a congressman by the name of Tony Coelho, but it really could have been any of them, told the rest of the Democrats, hey, you know what? You can take corporate cash just like the Republicans. It's now legal. And once that happened, the Democratic Party slowly became the establishment Democrats, the corporate Democrats that you know now. Well, that has led to disaster and ruin. And the reason for it is actually quite simple. Let me quote you the Barney Frank rule. And this is a rule that Barney Frank said to one of our reporters, Jordan Chern, in the middle of this election season. He said, what do you want us to do? Not take any of the banker money? Well, isn't it better that we take 20% of the banker money? And my resounding answer to Barney Frank is, no, it is not better. Because if you only take 20% of the banker money and the big donor money and the multinational corporation money, you set yourself up as the perpetual losing team. You are the Washington Generals to the Harlem Globetrotters. You have agreed to and take part in a system where you are paid to lose. If you base all the campaigns on money, and the other guys take more corporate money than you do, and you agree to that system, why would you do that? Of course that leads to failure and ruin. And we are in ruin. So I'm going to tell you how we're going to take the Democratic Party back. But to give you one more sense of how bad it is right now, Donald Trump, the most unpopular person to ever run for president in the history of the United States of America, defeated Hillary Clinton, the standard bearer for the establishment Democrats, for the corporate Democrats. They were so proud of her. They were so sure that she was going to win. And she lost to the most unpopular person. Do you know that Donald Trump had an unpopularity rating of 60% on the day of the election? 60% disapproved in the country, but he won anyway. That gives you some sense of what a disaster the Democratic Party has become. Of course, they lost the House, they lost the Senate. They couldn't fill a Supreme Court vacancy that was sitting there open for about a year. But to me, the most devastating stat is they have lost 69 out of the 99 state legislatures. The Republicans hold 70% of the legislatures across the country at the state level. The Democratic Party has a demographic advantage, and it has an advantage on almost every policy issue there is, yet they have somehow managed to lose 70% of the state legislatures and every branch of government. Can you describe incompetence that is greater than that? I think they have maxed out on incompetence. So that is why we must choose a new path. And that is what we embarked upon today. What we need to do is take over the Democratic Party. And as Martin Luther King said when he did the Civil Rights Movement, he said he was doing it not just to help African Americans, but to save the soul of America. Here we're going to try to save the soul of the Democratic Party by boarding the Democratic Party ship and taking it over. How are we going to do that? We're going to run strong progressives. And we are launching today something that will represent not the donors, not the multinational corporations, but just us. So this is a perfectly fine hashtag to use, and I was thinking of using it when we were initially coming up with this idea. And I looked at it, and I was like, just us, just us. Perhaps what we're really seeking is justice. We want you to represent just us, not your donors. Just the voters, not your donors. So, from now on, there will be a new wing of the Democratic Party, and it will be the Justice Democrats. We will seek social justice, economic justice, racial justice, and plain old justice for the American worker. If you are aggrieved, you are right. When the media tells you, oh, no, the status quo is wonderful, it's not true. When the establishment tells you everything's going fine, it's not true, and you know it. You know why? Your productivity has been sky high. You, the American worker, have not erred. You have done the right things. But your wages have been stagnant since right around 1980, when the corporations took over the Democratic Party, and there was no longer any resistance to their platform. And what has happened since then? Minimum wages stagnated. Well, in fact, all the wages have stagnated. That is not an accident, because multinational corporations did, in fact, rig the system by buying politicians, including Democrats. We're going to upend that. We're going to change that. So who are we? Well, yes, of course, the TYT Network is involved. That's why I'm here. One of the co-founders of the Just Democrats and one of the writers of the platform was Kyle Kalinske, host of Secular Talk. But there's a whole other component. A significant portion of Bernie Sanders' team that ran that wonderful campaign is now with the Justice Democrats. So we have got two senior advisors, including the folks who organized a lot of the states, and their team on the side of the Justice Democrats. So Zach Exley is on our board, Kyle's on our board, I'm on the board, but also Sykot is a person who was involved in organizing on the technology front, and he is going to be our executive director. Okay? So I think that we are onto something that is going to be amazing, but what we need is your help. Now, if this is going to work, it can't be just people from Bernie's team and TYT, and we think this is an important and interesting idea. You've got to like the idea, and you have to propel it forward. So there's a new website that will give you all the directions on what to do, but I need you to go there to do three specific things. First of all, the website is justdemocrats.com, and the things that I need you to do is, first of all, just sign up. Just let us know that you agree, you want strong progressives, you want a primary corporate Democrats, you want progressives to take back the party, okay? So that's the easiest thing in the world. It takes you 5 seconds. The second thing I want you to do is, we are going to actually get nominees to run in congressional races from you guys. So this is not a top-down in that sense. You have to bring it from the bottom up. You have to participate. If you don't participate, well, this will fizzle. And then the pundits in the media will say, oh, we knew it. No. The voters do want corporate Democrats. The voters do love the establishment. They do want the status quo. You've got to prove them wrong. Now, you can nominate yourself, but what I would prefer is if you nominated someone else in your community who you think would be great at representing you and representing the entire community. Because the whole point of this is to get your representatives into the House of Representatives, to Senate as well. But they've been representing the owners all this time. Give me people who are not politicians, but who actually care to do the job right, who actually care to represent people. Go ahead and nominate people. It doesn't take that long. Just got to tell us who you are, who they are, and tell us a simple reason why they should be the nominee. Now, look, I suspect that we are going to get hundreds and hundreds of nominees, and we will look through those. And it doesn't mean that every person is going to get selected. We're going to have to go through a selection process. But at the end, I believe we will have wonderfully strong candidates, and they will be real Americans. And they will not be politicians in it for themselves. From time to time, if there's a young, budding person who cared about politics who was already in, and we think there are strong Democrats who agree to the platform, great, then we will do that. By the way, on JusticeDemocrats.com, you'll also see the platform. You can click on that, read it for yourself. So point number one is, none of our candidates are allowed to take corporate money or big donor money. That is, because if we do that, then we're just going to turn into the corporate Democrats. So we will not be going down that road. We will be going down the road of representing the people, being sourced by the people, and getting our funding from the people. And so finally, of course, there will also be a button to donate there, and you can make this campaign as strong as possible and participate in any way that you can. So, I know what the establishment will say about this. They will say, well, now, Jen, get a time where there's a Donald Trump. We all have to unify. The Democrats have to unify in fighting. Now, unity sounds wonderful in theory, and I agree with unity. But am I going to unify behind them? The answer is hell no. If you tell me that we got to fight Donald Trump, I'll say, hey, I'm ready to lead that parade. If you say to me, we've got to fight against Donald Trump, but meanwhile you have to agree to our corporate economic principles, no. The answer is a resounding no. We will not unify. We will not unify behind you. We will not unify behind your losing strategy. We will not unify behind Democrats who don't represent us and who aren't even progressive. So your answer to unity on that front is no. Now, if your claim is that you actually want unity, great. Then unify behind us. Read the platform. It's perfectly progressive. If you claim to be a progressive, you'd be totally in favor of it. So great, you want unity, let's go, unify behind that platform. See, they don't want unity. They want compliance. And our answer to that is hell no. So, the second thing they'll do is they will beseech. Now, you can't do primaries against these wonderful Democrats that have been around for 30, 40 years serving the American people. Oh, yes, we can. We will primary them aggressively. Very, very aggressively. So it doesn't mean you're going to primary every Democrat there is. There's a progressive caucus who's done a wonderful job. But the rest of you, you are on notice. So if you want to straighten up and you want to actually do progressive priorities, great. If you don't, we are going to come for you. And if you think it's the old days where you can be cute and, hey, I voted the right way on a couple of social issues, but whenever there was an economic issue, I sided with the corporations who are my donors, and I didn't side with my voters. Well, there's this thing called the internet. Welcome. We already know your voting record, and we see it day to day. And we already know who your donors are. The times when you can trick us because all there was old TV media are gone. So we do not agree, and we will primary you. Very, very aggressively. So come and join us. Show them where the Democratic Party should go. Let us retake that ship and head it in the right direction. JusticeDemocrats.com. Sign up, nominate people, donate, fight in however way you can. And either we will get those Democrats to line up and get real unity behind us, or we will defeat them. Because the last thing we're going to do is go into another presidential election and run a corporatist against a populist candidate. The last thing we're going to do is endanger the Republic and the whole world by letting a clown like Donald Trump win because we picked a candidate that was pro-status quo, pro-establishments, pro-multinational corporations. The American people are not stupid. They saw through it. They said no matter how terrible Trump is, and by the way, 17% of his own voters thought he was not qualified for office, but they voted for him anyway because they were desperate for change. We're going to give America something they actually want. Change from the left. Almost every policy position we have in our platform is exactly what the American people say, according to the polling, not according to me, not according to the other founders, but according to the polling. So yes, we represent the mainstream of America. We're going to recapture one of those current parties that exist right now, and then we're going to have a real fight with the likes of Trump and the Republican Party and the establishment. But the fight starts now, it starts today, and it starts with you. JusticeDemocrats.com. Fix the media. Be the media. Come join us. TYTnetwork.com/join.
for the driven. Introducing the first ever Infiniti QX30 crossover. Infiniti, empower the drive.
Mark Zuckerberg, the leader of Facebook, you might be familiar with him, is the owner of a massive 700-acre, $100 million patch of land in Hawaii. Beautiful oceanfront property. So he has that. He also has multiple lawsuits that he has filed against individuals, Hawaiian families, who have ancestral rights to very small patches of that land that he technically owns. And because of those lawsuits, people are not happy with Mark Zuckerberg. He has almost a dozen native families currently have the right to live on small sections of his land, and so he has started these lawsuits, quiet title lawsuits against them, to basically require that investigation is done into the ownership of these patches of land and make sure who has it and who can be paid off. But let's get a little bit of history to understand how he got to this position, how he can own the land, but other people own bits of it. Before Westerners came to Hawaii, stewardship of the land was a collective responsibility. Privatization came back in 1848, divvying up parcels between the king, the government, and the people. The Kuleana Act of 1850 was intended to allow native Hawaiians to claim title to lands that they were personally cultivating, but ultimately less than 1% of Hawaii's land area was granted to indigenous people. That 1% is the product of this act that was supposed to give the land back to the people who are living on it and working it and cultivating crops. With Obama, we got 5% change, they got 1% change. The defendants in Zuckerberg's lawsuits are descendants of the original Kuleana title holders for small parcels surrounded by the estate. And here's where the problem comes from, because we're talking about bills from 160 years ago, or the effects of the laws from 160 years ago. Some of the owners of the land are now dead, and the owners of the plots can be difficult to trace, since land possession under the old law was largely undocumented. And over time, as people would grow up, they'd have children, they would split their land parcels and give them to multiple people. Those were also largely undocumented transmissions, and then some of them would die and some would split, and you have a mess. Now, in a Facebook post on the 19th of this month, Mark Zuckerberg defended his lawsuits as a good faith effort to find all these partial owners so we can pay them for their fair share. But people living in Hawaii, a lot of them, although some of his neighbors defend him, some are not happy about this. One close by neighbor said he's kind of in a bubble. It would be much better if we could sit in a circle and talk. He talks about building bridges and not walls. Well, he built a 6-foot wall. I believe it's a mile long as well.
Wow.
And a professor...
Did he make the Hawaiians pay for it?
They might eventually. No, it looks like he'll actually pay them, which is nice. It's a nice change. But a professor of, I believe it's Hawaiian studies, says, this is the face of neo-colonialism. Even though a forced sale may not physically displace people, it's the last nail in the coffin of separating us from the land. And many people echoed what the first neighbor said, that if he would simply come and talk to people, make himself available. Instead, they make inquiries to see when he's actually going to be on that property, and they are rebuffed, no answer is given, and all they have is the lawsuits to go by.
Mixed feelings about this one. Okay, first of all, these are called, as you pointed out, quiet title actions. Doesn't seem so quiet now. So, that's a little mislabeled. Okay, now I know why, of course, legally why they call it that. So, look, the guy bought a big piece of property. If he had the right to buy the property, bless his heart. So I rail against multinational corporations and rich folks who rig the rules to their benefit. But if you just buy a piece of land, that's not rigging anything. You just bought it. Bless your heart. Okay? So he builds a 6-foot wall. If you're Mark Zuckerberg and you're one of the richest guys on earth, you're probably going to build a wall so people don't lollygag into your gigantic property, right? So I got no problem with the wall. Now, is he going to go meet with every landowner? Guys, he's the CEO of Facebook, the founder. He's probably fairly busy. So, now, if he cares enough about this, should he do at least one meeting?
A town hall?
Yes, he should, right? And maybe he will, and this is just probably the beginning of this brouhaha, if you will. Now, let's talk this through, right? Because if they don't live on that land, and they have a parcel of land, and the first thing he's doing is not, like the title of the article on the Independent, which is a UK paper, makes it seem like Zuckerberg is ripping them from the land.
Yeah.
But they don't actually. Yeah, they don't actually live there, and he's not suing them to rob them at this point. He's actually going through a legal action to find out who owns the land so that he could pay them. That's not such a bad thing, right?
Some of them may not feel like they should be obligated to sell.
So, if we get to that point, which we haven't gotten to, then that's a really interesting question. And he might have accidentally opened up a can of worms where justifiably the landowner goes, as it turns out, my parcel of land is in the middle of your land, and so you're going to have to make a big, beautiful gate in that wall. And every day I'm going to come to the beach because that's my land. And that's that, if they don't want to sell.
Well, two little additional tidbits to consider. So the access to the beach is actually one of the important things that's at issue right now. A lot of people in the area do use the beach for fishing and various other sorts of traditional activities. They're worried that he might block off access to it. And this actually has shades of the same sort of thing happened in either Upper Santa Monica or Malibu, where there was this area where it's not a private beach, but some guy who owns land there just blocked it off and put a locked door. Feeling like, well, what now? This I live right near here. You can't have it, you dirty peasants. And so whether Mark Zuckerberg is actually doing that, that's what people are worried about. And then historically, the fear is that this is just the latest in a long historical trend where people used to live on this island, and they could afford to live on the island. But then, because it's one of the most beautiful places in the universe, as far as we know, more and more rich Westerners started coming and buying up big blocks of land and driving up the prices to the point where people whose families have always lived there can't afford it anymore. It's like the ultimate island gentrification, basically. And they're worried that this is just another example of that. A huge, huge example of it.
Okay, so as I continue to defend Mark Zuckerberg, I should note that we are partners with Facebook in that we use their platform, and this video will probably go up on Facebook, okay?
Yeah.
I'm just giving you that notice because I want to be upfront with you about it. Okay, now let me tell you about how great Facebook is. No, I'm kidding. So, look, I get the overall trend, and it is fascinating that before 1848, that's not that long ago, nobody owned the land. Isn't that a trippy thought? They just lived there. And they didn't have to worry about, this is mine and this is yours. And so now it's a little bit more complicated that throughout the world, right? When we start to do agriculture is when people get more literally territorial, right?
Although they don't have to.
Okay, that's right. They don't have to, but they did. But in Hawaii, all the way to 1848, you want to go live by the beach, live by the beach. You want to go live there, you go live there. Now, fortunately or unfortunately, I think a lot of people think, like the professor does, unfortunately, we don't live in that world anymore. And so now people do own the land. So I think that this is the beginning of this story.
Hello.
And I don't think anybody's done anything crazy or horrible yet. And I think that as much as those Native Hawaiians want Zuckerberg to give them the benefit of the doubt, it should be reciprocal. Like, he hasn't thrown... It's not like Donald Trump where he tried to kick a little old lady off her land so that he could build a parking lot for the limos that would come to his casino in Atlantic City. That's a literal story. Wow. Okay, and he tried to use government power to force her off of her land that she lived there her whole life. So, okay, now if Zuckerberg does that, we're having a different conversation. Yeah. Are you sick of the mainstream media? Then I got good news for you. We're going to hire some investigative reporters, and we're going to go house. We're actually going to investigate what's happening in this country and stand up for you guys. Help us do it. Go to tytnetwork.com/go. If everybody watching this video just gives a little bit of money, we'd have plenty to hire those investigative teams and unleash them on the country.
Now, Donald Trump, of course, awoke to the numbers showing that these marches were far larger than his tiny, shriveled little inauguration audience. And so he did what he normally does. He immediately began tweeting. Now, we've got a tale of two tweets here, basically. First, we have authentic Donald Trump, you're going to see in this one. Watched protests yesterday, but was under the impression that we just had an election. Why didn't these people vote? Celebs hurt cause badly. Well, first of all, again, you lost by almost 3 million votes, so most of them more than likely did vote. And again, he really is on about those celebs, huh? He's still mad about Meryl Streep, I think.
Well, so Donald Trump has pictures with celebrities all over his office because he actually loves celebrities.
Yeah.
Because he wants to be a celebrity. He's like the kid in school who wants to be with the cool kids, but doesn't quite know how. And so whenever they invite him over to the parties, he's like, yes, celebrities, right? But when they don't come over, he sulks. He's like, still not hurt you anyway.
Yeah.
I know when they hurt my feelings.
Or more likely, he's like the rich kid that invites people over for a great pool party, and so they'll go because it's a pool, but then they don't invite him to their parties because he's not actually cool. Sorry, rich kid. And then after that tweet, we have this one. Peaceful protests are a hallmark of our democracy. Even if I don't always agree, I recognize the rights of people to express their views. And that is the tweet that I think in this place Barack Obama would have sent. It's a very reasonable, level-headed tweet, which is why I don't believe that he had any part in its crafting or sending.
No, there's no way that Donald Trump sent that tweet. And so we've done a story on this before. There's two different phones that send tweets for Donald Trump's account. One is an iPhone and the other one's an Android. And a reporter, I forget now which one is which, but a reporter figured out which is the one Donald Trump uses. Mm-hmm. From that account, you constantly get the sad baby, right? Celebs bad, right? Losers. And the other account, whichever one it is, the iPhone or the Android, sends perfectly normal, reasonable, political speak stuff that clearly his spokesperson crafted and put out there. Yeah. But to you in the audience, you don't know which one it's coming from because it's going to the same tweeter machine, as Rick Perry would say, right? And you're saying it from the same account, but it's actually coming from two different people. Yeah. Gee, I wonder which one was Trump and which one was the politician.
But yeah, it was a great experience being at the march. I know a lot of people were energized by it and now are looking forward to the next actions. What are they going to actually take from this? What are they going to do? How are they going to organize? What issues are they going to organize around? And that's why I kind of have some schadenfreude in Kellyanne Conway and Donald Trump's reaction to, like, what? We just had an election. That they don't even know what's coming at them. Okay, when you can get 3 million plus people to organize, okay, that is going to lead to something that is going to hurt them, and I can't wait to see it happen.
You know who created journalism you could be proud of? You did. Our audience helped us hire an investigative reporting team. Now we're going to go for a second. TYTnetwork.com/go. Let's build the best reporting team in the country together.